Good morning. Today is July 1st, 2025. It's a Tuesday. It's about 9 in the morning. And I wanted to take a couple of minutes and do an analysis of The Bear. Keep in mind, this is unscripted and unrehearsed and not practiced. So, this is my first foray into analyzing uh, something that has become really popularized in the entertainment sector, and that is the show called The Bear. The Bear, apparently, it streams on FX, the cable channel FX. I do not have a TV. I haven't had a TV for I don't know, I would say about 20 years. So I watch the show The Bear on Hulu. I stream it on Hulu when it becomes available, and that's how I've been able to watch the show. So let's just get right into it. In season one, we learn about Carmi. He is a renowned chef who returns to his roots in Chicago, Illinois, to work the restaurant that his brother has left behind. And it's not really a restaurant, it's a sandwich shop, and it's called the Original Beef. And the brother has actually committed suicide. So Carmi leaves his well-paying career in New York as a renowned chef and moves back to his roots in Chicago to sort of face what the family is dealing with, all of the grief and the confusion around why his older brother would commit suicide, and also to try to keep the sandwich shop afloat so that it can continue to support the family. So the season really does focus on these initial struggles and these attempts to improve the Original Beef, the restaurant. Um, Highlighting these sort of really stressful realities that come with the food service industry. And then, of course, the unresolved burden of the oldest brother committing suicide and the grief that is around that. So it really does emphasize this first season, we're really introduced to the chaos and the sort of out of control narratives that happen in life and certain circumstances that we're thrown into. I really like the name of the the restaurant before it was changed to the Bear. I like the name The Original Beef because it sort of is a metaphor for our original us, not to get too religious, but our original sin or our original beef with our creator. Usually when you have a beef with someone, it's sort of an argument or a disagreement, or you're challenging their narratives or their viewpoints or their worldviews, and so you have a beef with someone. So I like the name The Original Beef. It sort of encapsulates that existential uh, process that we all have to go through, when we have a beef with someone. In season two, the focus has really shifted to the process of renovating and reopening the restaurant. So the renovation and the reopening of the restaurant is a sort of allegory for our life. So we're brought into this world, we have this original beef with our family, with our friends, with people with different worldviews than us, but we have to grow and we have to curate our own understanding of what it means to be in this world and to represent our position and our worldview to the best of our ability without falling prey to these emotional turmoils that we often saw in season one. So, the curation and the renaming and the reinvention of the restaurant is really what's emphasized in season two. This new vision of the restaurant creates a new name, and the new name of the restaurant is The Bear. And the bear is actually Jeremy Allen White's character, Carmi. That is a term of endearment that his family has given him. His friends call him Bear. His family's called him Bear. So I think that's why this show is really about Carmi, and it sort of captures that hero's journey. When you have a TV show that has a concept of a hero's journey, it's a recipe for a hit. So you've got Carmi going through this journey in life, having to leave his comfortable position and his renowned position in New York and move back to his roots, which are a little bit rougher around the edges. There's people that he's purposefully not spoken to in years and not gotten along with um, because of all the tension that comes about with these relationships. And so now he's forced to reconcile with that tension. He's forced to go back into it while he is also dealing with the grief and confusion around his brother's untimely suicide, as well as having to open up this new restaurant, recreate it, and stay true to his work ethic and his vision and what he hopes for the future. He's he has a lot of balls in the air. He's sort of dancing on a pin, and it's a great balancing act. And you can feel in the character, you can feel the tension is really culminating and it's really piling up inside of him. But meanwhile, the other characters that the supporting staff or the supporting characters that are in the show are leveling up, which is great to see. For instance, one of the characters goes into a training for under a very skilled pastry chef. The character Marcus has this incredible talent with pastries, but he wants to be better, and he supports Carmi's vision for the bear. So he wants to create these delightful, creative, artistic renderings of the visions he has in his mind. He wants to create them as pastries on the plate. So he goes through a very skilled training regarding that. Richie, his combative cousin, Carmi's combative cousin, also goes through a sort of personal growth process as well. And we actually see Richie reach his full potential and his full transformation in season 3. So season 3 is a culmination of all of those emotions that Carmi has built up. He sort of has a blowout with his girlfriend, who is a difficult character. He is feeling the pressure from Uncle Jimmy, who has funded the bear and leveraged his own personal life and income, even his house, in order to support the dream of turning the bear into an extraordinary restaurant. Um, he is pushing all of the staff to reach their full potential, and we really see all of them have leveled up, but especially Richie. Richie is an interesting character and one that I think many of us can identify with because he doesn't bring any specific culinary talent to the operation, but without him, the whole operation would fall apart. Richie goes and has training in a very well established, highly rated restaurant, and he trains under the executive chef, which is played wonderfully by Olivia Colman. And she basically teaches him patience, and she creates within him that sense of urgency. His takeaway from being under her tutelage is that every second counts, and every second does count in life. Even taking a few minutes to discuss this show, which is so meaningful to so many people, and articulate an opinion of it is time well spent. Every second in life counts. You only get a short opportunity to really make an impression in this life. And, just having a life is an opportunity to level up and be the person that you were meant to be or the person that you had always envisioned that you could be. So we see a lot of explosive sort of breaking out of these old patterns happening in season three. For instance, there's an incredibly tense and difficult episode where the entire episode is one long 30-minute string of tension and misunderstanding and that really sort of prickly family dynamic that comes like sometimes with at Thanksgiving dinner. And the mother ends up exploding and things are misunderstood. And the daughter is sort of sugar. The daughter is sort of being condescending. She too is part of the operations of the bear. She is very pregnant during this season. And so she's dealing with her pregnancy as well as trying to manage the bear, the day-to-day operations, payroll, cost, purchasing, things like that. Just the sort of the box checking that comes with running these types of establishments. So there's a lot of tension and a lot of raw nerves that are exposed in season three. And although the show itself has never really received a bad review from the sources that matter, like film critics or TV critics, or, even the New York Times comes out and says that this is a great show that everybody should watch. Um, it's interesting to see that if you talk to people in real life who've seen the show, one of their biggest complaints is the rawness of it has really left people feeling kind of, uncomfortable. I know that when we saw that particular episode, that Thanksgiving episode in season three, when it was over, we felt physically ill. That's how intense it was. It was raw emotion, and the thing about the bear is that it continues to break the fourth wall. Usually, when you're watching TV shows or movies or anything really in production, it's it's speaking to you, and the characters are fairly flat, and the dialogue is fairly wooden, and everybody is timed perfectly and curated perfectly, and nothing's too offensive and nothing's too exciting and nothing's too real or raw. And so you are sitting back comfortably as the viewer watching from a comfortable distance when you're watching your typical like American production. This one draws you in. It breaks the fourth wall. You are suddenly invested in and a part of this family and this group of people that are trying to make this thing work. And it does this continually. And I think that's why so many viewers were complaining about, feeling a certain way about the show. Like it was too raw. I think a friend of mine even said, I couldn't watch that particular episode. I had to turn it off, and I imagine that this particular friend maybe never had strenuous Thanksgiving dinners. Um, but I think ultimately what this show does is doesn't um it doesn't condescend to you. It doesn't insult your intelligence by speaking at you or speaking to you. It embraces you and pulls you in through that, you know, mechanism of breaking the fourth wall, which can only be done when you've got writers, directors, set producers, and even um, set designers as with a specific vision. They're holding true to that vision. And this is a very unique show that has a very unique vision. And suddenly, it's not really about whether the restaurant succeeds or not. It's really about whether you, as an individual, given this one life where every second counts, whether you succeed or not. So we see the growth of these characters take place and we become really excited for them, as I was especially excited for Richie to see how much growth had occurred with him. He went from being sort of a down and out guy that nobody respected and nobody paid attention to, who was, divorcing his wife, and his child didn't really understand him, and he was confused, and he shouted a lot and he yelled a lot in sort of that gruff Chicago exterior or posterior without really communicating. And I think he went from that to, sharp dressed, articulate, an extraordinary vision for the restaurant. He made the restaurant beautiful by bringing in exotic flowers. He really learned something. And what we love to see in TV shows and what we love to see in movies is that act of discovery, that act of learning something. We've really taken something away from this process. And that leads me to season 4, which I just started. I've only seen the first 3 episodes of season 4, but what I've noticed right away is the characters have developed, and the show itself, the people who write the script, the people who are presenting the show to you, the audience, listened to what the audience said, because the characters are totally different. They're no longer talking over one another. There's no more chaos in these scenes. The music is softer and gentler. The characters are more introspective, thinking about, you know, exactly what they want to do with the process of creating something from, the pan to the plate to the palate. They take their time talking to one another. They take a beat before they respond. They don't respond in judgment like they used to. They respond with, you know addressing or acknowledging what the other person might be saying or whatever issues they might have, and then trying to work for solutions. This is growth, and you always want to see growth in your characters. You always want to see that level of character development. uh, Staying in these sort of infantile places, like you saw with the show Will and Grace, where a couple of the characters never really evolved past their silly infantile antics, was really annoying after the first couple of seasons. I would have expected to see more growth, in a show like that. But with this show, you're getting that. You're getting that growth, that necessary growth in order to survive, in order to navigate this world. The sense of urgency is actually kicked in even more in season 4, because one of the first scenes in the first episode of season 4 is when Uncle Jimmy comes with this sort of giant analog clock, and he hits the start button, and it's like, I don't know, something like 900,000 hours or 900 hours or something like that. So 900,000 hours, I think it is, or whatever. And basically, they have that amount of time to turn this thing around and actually earn a lot of money, like a lot of money, in order to keep the place open. If they don't turn it around, then the whole thing is sunk. He can no longer invest any more of his personal money into the business. He can no longer leverage his life, and he's like, I need you guys to fix this. I also need you to accept the reality that as soon as that clock hits 0, it's over. It's absolutely over. No more nothing. No more restaurant. It's closing down. And so Carmi's response to that, as executive chef and as the owner of the restaurant, his response to that is, well, I guess we need a star. So having a Michelin star will put them in the realm of financial security, notability, notoriety. Like they will. There are restaurants that that have the Michelin rating where it takes like a year and a half to get a reservation. Like you have to wait a year and a half to get a reservation. Um, so so this is what will transform the characters from being, these really talented, really passionate um, individuals who are bringing their individual talent in order to make this one thing really go, and really succeed, it will transform that into something extraordinary, like the stuff that dreams are made of. And the process through attaining that dream or reaching for that star, so to speak, reach for that star. I mean, this is all metaphorical, right? The Michelin star rating is what the restaurant needs in order to be better than everybody else, and also just to take care of some basic business, keep the paychecks rolling, keep their investor from losing his shirt. And each and every individual, even down to the guys that just, you know, make the sandwiches and slew them out the windows and throw them out the windows at people walking by who are on their rushing on their way to work or on their way home from work in downtown Chicago. Even these people are part of the process of raising the standard of the bear to extraordinary levels. The bear is something that is very unique. It's not seen in American entertainment. We don't see it on TV shows. We don't see it in movies very often. So I highly recommend it. And like I said, I just started season 4 and ended episode 3. So I'm sure maybe I'll have a part 2 of my analysis of the bear. But in the meantime, I just want to thank you for listening and have a great day. Bye.